Ethics. Moral principles that govern the way people act not only in everyday life, but also increasingly so in businesses. Ethics has progressively become a big part of every business, and it cannot be ignored. We as consumers are constantly looking for businesses that are ethical in their practices towards employees, stockholders, and more so now than ever, the environment. And as critical thinkers, we must be aware of the decisions businesses make and their impacts. For the next 5 minutes, I will be talking about a book written by Robert Audi named Business Ethics and Ethical Business. The thesis of this book is simply how to conduct yourself ethically in different aspects of business. I will focus on 2 parts of the book that I found the most intriguing, which are hiring policies and compensation standards in relation to human resources and marketing in relation to the ARBIS 300 course. So now that you know what I will be talking about, let's begin. The first thing that I found interesting in this book was hiring policies and compensation standards in relation to human resources. Personally, as a student who is interested in human resources as a potential future career, hiring policies and compensation standards will be an integral part of my job. In the book, it talks about a notion of special treatment called affirmative action. Now, affirmative action is giving some preference to members of a group identified by a characteristic, not normally a qualification for doing the job in question. Affirmative action can vary in the degree of importance that employers hold it. So an example that the book gives of affirmative action is giving hiring preference when other things are equal in terms of qualifications. The 4 identified groups are females, aboriginals, people with disabilities, and minorities. So this means that if there are 2 candidates that an organization is choosing between, say 1 white male and 1 minority male, the organization is most likely going to hire the minority. And this is because there's an increasing effort to have a better diversified environment. And being a human resource professional who is in charge of hiring applicants, it is important to be aware of ethics and laws to protect the organization from lawsuits. A human resource professional should be aware of the employment code and know that every person has the right to equal treatment without discrimination because of race, gender, and sexual orientation, etc. In order for an organization to show that they are complying with this, they hire persons belonging to the identified groups. Of course, it is also important to be aware of reverse discrimination to the majority of the work population, which consists of white males. So now that I've explored a little bit of ethics in my future career as a human resources professional, I'm going to switch gears a bit and I'm going to move on to how we as consumers need to be critical thinkers. So this last point that I'm going to touch upon is ethics in marketing. Businesses have an obligation to be truthful in marketing, but what we don't think of is our responsibility in response to marketing. Audi briefly touches upon an intriguing idea that consumers can express dislike of certain kinds of ads or adjust their purchasing preferences accordingly. It should not be assumed, though, that business ethics applies only to businesses and their employers. It applies to all who do business, including consumers. So continuing on this idea that we as consumers are also responsible, Audi gives an example and writes, "Deception does not entail lying. A case of deception occurs with a kind of indirect marketing. So suppose celebrities are paid to wear a certain brand of clothing. Such viral marketing may deceive, but need involves no lying." Relating this to us as critical thinkers, we need to have a healthy dose of skepticism while seeing advertisements. Ads are all around us, such as TV shows and magazines. In class, we talked about how companies create brands in which we can identify with and make us feel attached to the brand. When viewing an ad, we should analyze it and not just be sucked in automatically with the desires that they try to sell us. And though companies should be ethical in their advertising, doesn't mean they don't work around being deceptive and won't do everything in their power to make us buy into their brand. So this idea of us as consumers needing to be responsible in marketing shows us how we need to be critical thinkers. So in conclusion, in the brief few minutes I've been talking, I've touched upon ethics in hiring policies and compensation standards and ethics in marketing. I've explored why it is important to be aware of ethics in your field of profession and also explored how we as critical thinkers need to be aware of the impacts ethical or unethical business decisions have on us. Ethics is a part of most decisions people make. We just need to have the eyes to see it. Thank you.